It's Friday, September 26th. I'm Adam Walsh, and this is The Signal. The days are going to get cold again, folks, and the cost of electricity not getting any cheaper. So we are thinking about energy efficiency on the show today. It's also Energy Efficiency Week. We've got folks here in studio to talk tips and a new program for St. John's. I was tempted to Glenn Payette the St. John's there, but I resisted. And if you know, you know. And if you don't, ask a friend. Part of today's discussion, it will focus on the shift program for St. John's. But it's a provincial conversation. So we're going to start with this program and broadly talk about energy efficiency and sustainability, thinking about the whole province. So it's a home comfort discussion. It's a save some money discussion. It's a climate change discussion, a sustainability discussion, all of that in one. So as you're listening, we'll open up the phone lines in a little bit, too, for if you have questions or comments. So 709-722-7111, 1-800-563-8255. I'll announce it again when they're fully open. But if you want to call and wait, feel free. The Signal at cbc.ca for emails. And the text line, 709-327-8255. 206. Let's start. We're bookending the week with econext. So we've got Katie Fraser and Morgan Winter here from econext. Just tell us about yourselves and give us the small intro on the shift program, and then we'll kind of work our way around to the other guests, and we'll just see where we go and land with this thing. Who wants to go first?
Excellent. I can go first if you like. I'm Morgan. I am the Home Energy Navigator with the SHIFT program. I'll allow Katie to introduce herself.
Go for it.
I'm Katie. I'm the manager of the SHIFT program delivery. So the SHIFT program, it works to guide and support homeowners living in St. John's go through energy efficiency renovations of their home.
Why is that important?
It's important because you want to reduce the energy usage in your home. You also want to lower your cost of your energy bills. Also, in turn, so that's good for the environment and yourself personally. It's important because
it increases comfort ultimately.
The comfort of your home, right?
Yeah.
So in the colder months, it allows you to keep the heat in, and in the summer months, it allows you to cool your home.
Yeah, if you have a poorly insulated, drafty old home, and the heat is on bust because everything's escaping, your money's escaping, you're feeling cold, and none of that is a nice thing.
No.
Exactly.
All right.
Yeah.
So where did the idea come for this shift program, and how does it work?
Well, the idea, I think, was born years ago. The origin of the program started long before mine and Morgan's time. I don't know if maybe Edmundo
All right, so Edmundo Fausto is here from the city of St. John's, and your official title, again, it is Manager Sustainability, right?
Yes.
So this is your partnership with the city, so give us the introduction of yourself, and let's get to this origin story of the program.
Okay, yeah, of course. Thank you very much. So my name is Edmundo Fausto, and like you mentioned, Adam, I'm the Manager of Sustainability. So I work across different departments in the city. I've been with the city now for about 6 years. And basically my scope is to bring to reality the desires and the strategies that exist in our Resilience St. John's climate plan. And whenever council and the city was putting that together, we found out that about 34% of the households in St. John's have what we call the high energy cost burden, which means over 6% of your after-tax dollars go towards energy. And that's heating, lighting, water, and even transportation cost of fuel or electricity. And one of the things that we wanted to arrange was to balance those two things, right? So how do we increase efficiency and do our part for the environment and climate change? So we had various conversations with econext and with various groups about availability of funding with the Federation of Canadian Municipalities to help homeowners and what were the gaps between existing programs and the different entities that exist, right? Like TakeCharge being one of them, the province having incentives, at the time the federal government having other programs, and what were the barriers? So what we kept hearing from various groups was a guide. That the programs there was a lot of things to pull together. Could we have like a coordinator that can help us understand and kind of check on me and kind of help me move along, because between kids in school and lunches and work, I have a lot going on, and people kind of just assume their home works, or they want their home to work. So that I would say in essence kind of came to be the idea of the program of Shift, to be a guide to kind of help people kind of through the process in the background, kind of being like, yeah, have you gone here? Have you gone there? Have you considered this? Have you considered that? And kind of help them tie all these things together. And not necessarily to replace any existing funding program, but to actually help accelerate them and amplify them, and mainly help the homeowners in St. John's address these issues.
So kind of like it aggregates a bunch of stuff. Like if because I find that sometimes, I sit down, I'm kind of like, you hear about different programs or funding, and it's this gets announced, that gets announced, and then it's like, where was that thing I heard,
Yes.
and how do I, and what do I, and then I don't know, and I mean, so luckily over the years with TakeCharge, Peter Upshall is here. How are you doing?
Excellent, Adam.
So, and folks, keep listening, and this is all going to be real clear as we talk through the show. So we've got a Shift program, which we're going to get into, which we are getting into and have been, and also we've got TakeCharge. So remind people of TakeCharge, and because what Edmundo was just talking about is what's been so great with TakeCharge, I think, and just tell folks about TakeCharge again and what is there for people to kind of look in for a Newfoundland and Labrador type of ability.
Yeah, so TakeCharge is efforts by the two electric utilities in the province, so Newfoundland and Labrador Hydro and the company that I work for, Newfoundland Power, and we want to deliver energy efficiency advice, information, and rebates to customers right throughout the province. So that's what we've been doing since 2009 and continue to do today.
Yeah, and you've been on. I mean, we've done numerous shows together talking about everything of what do you need to know about like oil to electric conversion, if there's funding for a heat pump. There's been previous funding buckets before that don't exist anymore, but now, like I'm on this site today, insulation rebate, air sealing rebates, energy saver kits, oil to electric incentives still up to $22,000, tips on LEDs, right? So all of that is there.
Right.
For Newfoundland and Labrador.
Yeah, absolutely. And, we invite anybody to come to our website, the TakeCharge website, for more information and to learn, all the details and the funding that's available for people to make those upgrades to your homes. And we appreciate the work that Shift is starting to do now in the city of St. John's, because really we have the same objectives. We want to deliver the same sorts of things to customers and just help them make their homes more energy efficient.
Excellent. I'm on the Shift page now. Shift Home Energy Reno Guide. Kickstart savings, initial energy audit subsidized to $99 for a limited time. Ready to save money on your home's heating and utility cost? ? And then it's got a bunch of stuff under that. So who wants to carry the baton now of just kind of talking a little bit more of what the aggregator is for Shift and what folks in St. John's can expect from it?
I can go ahead with that.
Sure, Morgan. Yeah.
I didn't really explain my role as a home energy navigator.
Yes, where do you come into this as a home? I should have asked that question right off the top. That's my fault.
No, absolutely not. So I'm actually probably going to be the one that homeowners in St. John's are going to be talking to the most. So I am going to be providing the guidance that Shift offers, from the initial phone call to the energy audits, all the way to the home energy renovations that you might want to avail of. So the Shift program actually, it works. I should probably explain it a little bit. So we are partnered with econext and the City of St. John's. We're actually funded through the Federation of Canadian Municipalities, the Green Municipal Fund. So that is why we can offer all of our guidance to homeowners for free. The energy audit, the initial one that you just mentioned, you actually can get a $99 pre-project energy audit, which is approximately 80% savings. I think it's usually $500-$600.
Yeah, because I've heard about them before, and I was like, that is a lot cheaper than what I'd heard.
Yes,
so, okay.
That's a great incentive for our program specifically. And then, again, all the guidance that you get after that is free. But, of course, the costs of renovations and then the post-audit will incur costs as well. So that's essentially what I do. Katie will also be speaking with homeowners, but if you want to go to maketheshiftnl.ca and you want to book an appointment, you will be talking to me.
So run me through it. I used to, years ago, my wife and I owned a house. We bought we'll say a beginner home on Casey Street. It was 100 years old, and it was everything that a 100-year or plus now home would be in the downtown. Like the only thing was like when I was ripping up the old cushion floor, I kept hoping for hardwood underneath, but there was just more layers of cushion floor. There was never any hardwood. It was just inches and inches of retro cushion floor, to my disappointment. We bought this house, and we were renovating it. If this was me now, and I'm like, okay, this thing needs work. It's drafty. There's the walls are so thin with very little insulation. Probably old Evening Telegram papers ripped up for insulation in there. No insulation in the attic or in the basement. Lacking in the attic. Windows are old. When I call you folks for help to try to figure it out, obviously, I'm gonna say, you know what? I think I need this $99 energy audit, even though I can feel the universe sucking all the heat out of the house at all the times because it's just a porous entity. What happens?
So I will hook you up with the energy auditor. So you obviously, like you said, can see that your home needs some work. But what they're so much work. But what they're going to provide you by going through your home and doing this energy audit is an EnerGuide score. Okay. So they will then give you an itemized list based on the energy audit, and they will give you options for energy upgrades in order of importance. So I think we were talking about heat pumps and everything before. There are a lot of big buzzwords that are really important to invest in for your home, but like you said, insulation, replacing drafty windows, air sealing. These are all really important smaller things to focus on in the envelope of your home that will make big changes.
Yeah, so there's a suite of a range of costs, and you folks, like once we get the audit, it's kind of like, okay, I get the score. In this case, it would be the worst possible score, right? It's kind of like first put a front door on the house, and that will stop that big draft, like that kind of a thing. But everything from, like you said, it can be insulation to new windows to figuring out some of the draftiness for the envelope of the home, all the way up to and including getting a heat pump.
Yes.
Okay. Anything else to talk about there for the process and what else we would do under the SHIFT program?
We're a touch point throughout the whole process. So again, Morgan said the service is free. So there's no limit on how many times you can ask a question, email us, call us. We're here to help. That's the main point. And I think we've had an overwhelmingly positive response so far. It's clear that people just want a sounding board, touch point to know that, yes, I'm doing this and this is what's right and this will help. It will lower my bills, all that stuff. They just need to be, comforted in that.
Because this stuff costs money, and it can cost a little bit of money. What if I have questions about financing and or incentives? Like, do you help with that?
Yeah. So at a certain point in the process, we talk about. We don't personally get into the finances, but we have partnered with the NLCU, so Newfoundland and Labrador Credit Union. And we're offering low interest rate loans to homeowners who are eligible for the SHIFT program. And that's a whole side. So we send you to the NLCU to discuss that. But that is another huge point of the SHIFT program is the low interest rate loan that we have available.
And I can speak a little bit to the gap that we found was that even when the Green Homes program and the existing programs where they had financing available, you kind of had to wait for the money to be disbursed to you. And often that was a limiting factor to getting to do the thing that you wanted to do. So we partnered with the Newfoundland and Labrador Credit Union, and we basically, through that partnership, they were able to offer financing, unsecured financing, like a line of credit type or a regular loan at a lower interest rate, as well as to people that otherwise may not have been approved automatically. So we're able to work together with them to open it up to a little bit of a broader community, and with the intention of it being used as what in a technical term is called gap financing, which is basically money that you can use while you're waiting for the 2 to 3 months or a few weeks, depending on what kind of program you're accessing, for an incentive to kind of come. And then you can either decide to keep it there or to move it to a home equity line of credit or whatever other options you might have. And like Shift mentioned, like Katie mentioned, Shift has a group of partners that can put you in contact with the right people that can help you make that decision. And to make sure that it's not a cookie cutter decision, it's a decision that is better for your home. Because in your case, maybe you had just bought the house, so maybe a home equity line of credit is not available to you. And secure loan wouldn't have been an option either. So maybe an unsecured loan to get you out of that corner would have been the best option to kind of get started. But somebody who's been in their home maybe 20 years, maybe they have a lot of equity and maybe they don't really need that particular aspect. But again, life happens and conditions can vary.
Yeah, I mean, I drove by this home the other day on Casey Street, the old home where we used to live. And even with all of so to continue with this discussion now, the person who, there's a couple of buyers later, but anyways, the folks who own it now, they would have come into a home with new windows, the extra insulation in the attic, the basement was done up. Also, a lot of the draftiness was taken care of. But there is still nothing that I could see from my quick drive by, but I still didn't see any modernization when it came to like a heat pump or anything else. So again, if the owner or the future owner was buying that house now, they could still check out that energy audit and then have a discussion of, okay, where are things at? What else do we need to do? And also it's a discussion around maybe, right, a heat pump or more with a couple of heads. So then with TakeCharge NL, what's available for folks nowadays in that? Is it because there used to be funding for some heat pumps, but now it's just the oil to electric conversion. What is out there now for Newfoundland and Labrador?
Yeah, that's right. And Adam, you know what? You're making a great point, and I don't know if you're intentionally making it or not.
Rarely.
But I guess this is one of the benefits of Shift is to help people figure out what programming is available. And the reality is, TakeCharge never did offer funding for heat pumps to residential customers, but the Greener Homes program did, which was great. So they filled a nice niche there, I'll say. But from TakeCharge's perspective, and this applies to everybody in the province, if you have an electrically heated home, then you can get some very nice rebates on insulation. So you mentioned adding some insulation to the attic, and our program covers 75% of the material cost for the insulation for an attic or a basement. And very fresh, September 1st, we made another improvement to the program because you can now get funding for the labor component of doing that. So if you have a professional contractor do that work and they're registered with us, then you can get 75% back, up to $500 for an attic project and up to $500 for a basement project. So if you had to do both, you could get $1,000. There is a limit on the insulating materials as well. It's $1,000 for each of those projects. So potentially $1,000 for an attic project, $1,000 for a basement project. So some very nice rebates that we're hoping our friends at Shift through the city will be able to make sure customers are well aware of and using to make their homes more energy efficient.
You're listening to The Signal. I'm Adam Walsh. If you have questions or comments about energy efficiency, like I said, it's an energy efficiency conversation, it's a climate change conversation, it's a community conversation. Give us a call, 709-722-7111, 1-800-563-8255. You can text us, 709-327-8206, The Signal at cbc.ca. With me here in the studio, Katie Fraser from econext, same with Morgan Winter, Edmundo Fausto, Manager Sustainability, City of St. John's, and Peter Upshall, TakeCharge NL. So when we think of houses, whether it's in St. John's or across the province, and we mentioned some around energy earlier, what are the issues, and we've been kind of talking about it, but what are some of the big issues that we see that we're trying to kind of navigate through in order to make things more efficient, in order to think about the transition that is happening in a decarbonized society that we're hoping to kind of push more and more towards? Talk to me a little bit about that, what you're hearing and seeing.
Yeah, I'm going to jump in here. Yeah. So there's two big things: making sure you got good levels of insulation in your home. That is critical. The other thing, which can be in some ways a little tougher to deal with, is the air leakage that you referenced with your first house. So as you, again, referenced, if air is leaking in somewhere, then the warm air that you paid to heat is leaking out somewhere else.
Freaks me out thinking about it.
Yeah, that's right. So, it takes some effort. Cold air tends to leak in low down in your house. So in the basement is where you're, if you get a nice windy evening and it's a bit cool outside, you go around, you might be able to feel some drafts. And doors that open and close so much, you need to be mindful there too, looking for like the door sweep might need to be replaced, some more weather stripping. If you can feel cold air coming in around the door, again, means you're losing heat. And sometimes you can even see light around the door because the gaps are so big, and those gaps, again, just mean that cold air can leak into your house.
Yeah, right. So this is the effort that needs to be put in, and just thinking about it, because if not, well, you're not comfortable. You're losing money.
Right.
And then also, I think in a time when we're with electric cars coming on, electric bikes, all this other stuff, there's extra electricity needs that are coming. And so if we can kind of conserve with our homes, that's freeing up extra space on grids to be used for other things as things electrify. So talk to me more about the city and what you've seen in your role.
Yeah, so what I've seen a lot has been that we have one of the oldest municipalities in Canada, which comes along with some of the oldest infrastructure in Canada, whether it's homes, underground infrastructure, and all those issues. So I think that's kind of the priority, right? Like, how do we, as we navigate through this transition and in whatever energy consumption, how do we navigate rehabilitating and renovating and all this infrastructure? So SHIFT is obviously one piece on helping residents do their homes and work in that aspect. The city is actually we're working on doing that for our housing units, for our whole housing units. We're looking at a renovation of 101 units and a 66 multi-unit residential building that we own. So we're kind of learning through that, and ideally also looking to share that information once that project is complete over the next few years. But the other aspect that we see a lot is there was a lot of gaps in the existing programs. Like, for example, Peter mentioned a good one, which was there used to be incentives, and there's still incentives for insulation, but it didn't used to cover the labor costs. Right. So the SHIFT financing partnership with Newfoundland and Labrador Credit Union is intended to kind of support a lot of those incentive programs, and for example, up to 30% of the financing that you can access can be used for non-energy related improvements. So that could be, I want to insulate the basement of my house, but it doesn't have framing to put the insulation on. So the cost of that framing and that labor and that cost that can be financed, and that could be arranged, and that could be planned, and that can be supported. Same thing with water efficiency, or like you mentioned, maybe there's an opportunity there to look at the load in the building if somebody's looking at an electric vehicle down the road, and do those upgrades along the lines of putting a new heat pump and transferring from oil to electric. And how do you balance all that, and how do you plan that out? SHIFT as a guide, that is what they're here to do. They're kind of helping us answer those questions, helping figure that out, and then and help put all that in order so that you can have a project plan and move forward with it.
Yeah, with the age of the city, the range. I started with that downtown thought, but then so you've got houses that are early 20th century type of a thing. Yeah. And then you had the post-World War II boom that expanded something like, was it Tunis Court and places like that. And you look at the houses, you're like, that's one of the ones that was built right. Like the big roof on it and the big V. Then you had more, you could see like Elizabeth Avenue, places built probably in the 70s type of thing as things expanded. And then not until like late 90s, early 2000s that you get into some of the more modernized, the walls are bigger, like and stuff that doesn't necessarily need to be really, really upgraded. Like my current home is built in like I think 06, and everything is fine right now. The window, anyways. There's a future conversation about windows perhaps in the next 5 years, but to think about like Edmundo, like in your situation, and then for folks phoning for SHIFT and also for TakeCharge, just the amount of modernization that is needed. Yep. And a lot of my head is oftentimes like I'll drive like over near the Avalon Mall when you're driving just on the other side of it on the section to come up to the health sciences. You see these homes still with the oil tanks everywhere on the outside. typically seniors might own them, or the rental properties for students type of a thing. But every time I look at it, I wonder, okay, so this is something that is going to have to be probably replaced, but then there's the cost, the electric cost, the labor cost, and all of that to upgrade the electric system. And you think of that throughout the city and how much of it needs to be done.
Yep.
It's just like, what's it like to be in your role to give the advice on this and to think about it?
Well, it's actually very good to help bring people together, like Katie and Morgan, to actually do a lot of that then guiding and principles. And my role a lot of often is to kind of work with our current infrastructure and see what we can do, and to move that ahead. And a lot of the things that we saw across the city was exactly that. That is not going to be a one-man show.
Yeah.
That is going to be a full community effort across different organizations. And even from the beginning, whenever we first put together the plan, we had well over 30 organizations being part of the planning process. And the understanding very much talking through, like, this is not just an action that the city is going to do. It's something that we want to tell us how you want to move on this and what role you see yourself playing in it. And I think we've seen really good response from many organizations, non-for-profits, as well as for-profit organizations and other groups to move different items forward. And and the city, a big aspect of the plan was actually for the city to leap forward and be more of an example. And since we began, we've retrofitted over 17 facilities, whether it's from City Hall to the Mary Brown Center, it's fully LED, the convention center, to a lot of the community centers and treatment plants as well. And we're currently working on another 4. We're starting on housing, more deep retrofits, and we're still looking at a lot of other sectors and moving along with different actions.
Katie, Morgan, any thoughts?
Just touching on, like, it can be overwhelming. Like, I think a lot of homeowners don't know where to start.
Yeah.
And the SHIFT program is a way to sort of simplify it. Contact us. We'll get you started. We're there with you along the way, finding out what rebates are available to you. Definitely, obviously, through TakeCharge. We're here to take you through the process.
Absolutely. You don't need to be knowledgeable on any of this. Honestly, just understanding what a home energy retrofit is can be confusing to a lot of people, especially if you're a homeowner who is bringing their kid from dance to soccer. Like, you don't have time to figure out, okay, do I need a heat pump? What's going on with my front door? You know, we're here to take that off of your hands and to direct you to places like TakeCharge to see what rebates you have available. And again, go through the particulars of an energy audit, because who knows what that is?
Because it's like, I don't know how new it is, but it feels newer anyways, right? For an energy audit, it's not something I didn't grow up like. When I was growing up, no one was like, "Oh, there's a person coming in for an energy audit later on today." Like, that was never. That's not something that was uttered out of anyone's mouths around me up until I started doing this show. And then it's like, oh, but I can understand why, given the discussion we've been having about the age of homes, some of the deficiencies that are there, and everything else. There's also a note here under shift on domestic water heating.
Yeah.
What's that about?
I think what that's about is renovations can be simple in that you can just sort of adjust your hot water tank.
Yeah.
Like, it can be as simple as that. Maybe it's, maxed out. Maybe it's too high.
Upgrade your hot water heater.
Yeah.
Something as simple as that.
Yeah, I'm reading it. Yeah, domestic water heating. This can mean getting your hot water tank serviced to address buildup on the heating elements. Insulating your hot water tank, switching to a tankless hot water heater, adding drain water heat recovery. Yeah, so it's just like, or if budget allows, installing a heat pump water heater. Note that conserving hot water is a no-cost way of reducing the energy consumption from hot water. Like, honestly, in the winter, if we take a bath in my house, you can see the spike in for the bill, and which is so. Yes, for Adam later on. There's a little mental note for what I'll be looking at later for energy savings in my home.
And Adam, showers are more energy efficient
I know.
than filling the bathtub.
But sometimes I run through the winter and I get home sometimes and I'm really cold.
Yes, well, I can relate to
So that's
that.
why I have 2 baths in winter.
That's right. And we're at TakeCharge. We're not saying people shouldn't have baths, but you need to do it.
That's the news clip. That's the news clip.
Understanding that you're going to use more hot water. And my own personal story, I have 4 boys that my wife and I have raised. So many showers. We had one 40-gallon tank. You can get 60-gallon tanks, but we had a 40-gallon. But we put in an energy-efficient shower head. And I'm sure that has saved me untold dollars, and not only saved me money and, of course, energy, but also allowed a lot of mornings 6 people to get a shower with a 40-gallon hot water tank. So, there are lots of benefits. And, of course, from a municipality perspective, you got water savings right on through. So lots of benefits for everybody to share when we work together to, again, not only reduce the hot water. And, some people say, no, I love my shower. But it will deliver a pretty good shower. You really need to try it for maybe $25. You could install something that's going to save you $25 in less than 6 months, and with all the other benefits.
Yeah, water's coming out the whole time. So not like back when I was in the Navy and we had what was called pusser showers, which means you get in, you turn on the water for like 10 seconds, you turn it off, you soap up, and then you turn it on for another 30 seconds. Like you're talking, you can still get an actual shower.
They're designed to give you a pretty good shower with a lot less water.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, but this is the conversation that we're through this week. We started the week with econext. We had this conversation on Wednesday about intersections of health and climate change. In the news today, Torbay, massive, in the last couple of days, massive water issues across the province. I mean, the dry wells with the drought conditions this summer. Other communities are dealing with water issues. So this is a very real conversation on a climate level, as well as a cost savings level and everything else. We got an email here. And as you're listening, if you want to give us a call, if you've got thoughts on energy efficiency, climate change, cost savings, or questions about the SHIFT program or for TakeCharge NL, get in touch with us. 709-722-7111, 1-800-563-8255. The Signal at cbc.ca. Fred Skanes sent us a note. Heat pumps, mini splits are all the rage, but it's not that simple, and there's a lot that goes into it. You may have to get rid of your oil furnace, your existing wiring, your drywall, plaster, then upgrade your wiring and panel box. You may need an electric furnace as well. Then it all has to be replastered and painted. You need to get the painting redone. You have to get old radiators taken out and new ones put in maybe, then think about warranties and or permissions involved, and then ask yourself, as a senior, is it worth it? The one thing we need is for politicians to move on developing smaller energy housing units for seniors, and then we can sell our old Casey Street houses and move on. Thank you, Fred, and thank you for listening so intently on the, sometimes I forget people actually listen to the examples that I say, and some of them are half revealing, so thank you for listening to that. Thoughts on what Fred had to say there?
No, I think that's
pretty bang on, right?
That's pretty bang on. Actually, the amount of space that you have to heat and the amount of it's a huge determinant of how efficient your house can be. But I'll say that this actually speaks a lot to the timing of when do you talk about a retrofit. And obviously, there's quick things that you can do. Change the shower head, change the light bulb, and you can do pretty much any time, even as far as probably putting a mini split. But whenever you're thinking about the siding is coming due and doing a big siding job, or the roof is coming due and doing some roofing, or the windows are coming due or something like that, I think that's usually some very good triggers to really have a conversation about how can I make my home more energy efficient, because you're going to put a significant amount of money into it anyway. So, adding a little bit of layers of insulation, some air sealing can go a long way in making you comfortable. We had a pretty bad fire season this year. And a lot of people, I don't know if especially in these old homes, I live in one, you could actually smell the smoke in the house.
Yeah.
That's not supposed to happen.
No.
In the old home, it was supposed to happen. In the new homes, it's not supposed to happen, right? Yeah. That's talking about the air exchanges that are happening in the building. And that is remediable. That can be addressed. And there is technologies that can do it pretty quickly. But the right timing, the right cost, can help you actually not just see the payback from an energy perspective, but actually see money that you're going to spend anyway and just stretch it out a little bit further. And I think that's kind of why a lot of the program was thinking about that 30% of stuff that is not quote unquote energy related, like the painting, the plastering, and some of that stuff that can come into play as well.
And finding folks to do it nowadays.
Yes, that's a challenge.
Anyone else have Fred's thoughts there?
I think it's just an example of, yes, it can be overwhelming. You think of one thing and it leads to 20 things. But yeah, it's step by step, do something is our...
Yeah, if you call shift, you folks are going to help them eat the elephant one bite at a time.
Yes,
right?
and the energy audit, that is a huge thing. I think the barrier is the cost of the energy audit, $500-$600. That's not $10. That's not $100. It's so that's the point of offering the incentive of the $99 energy audit. It allows people to have the space, free up the space to think about, oh, well, I could do it now. So start there. Start step one.
And I will say to Fred's point there, the one thing we need is for politicians to move on developing smaller energy housing units for seniors. 2 elections happening, 2, municipal and provincial. And people are knocking on doors. And the one thing folks could do is talk to the people knocking on the doors about the things that you care about and ask them more about it and whether or not they're thinking in terms of policy and red tape and logistics and bureaucracy and all that stuff. So that is the thought process around some of the conversations you can be having with folks who are asking for your vote. We've got Craig on the line from Fleur-de-Lis. How you doing?
Good, Adam, and yourself?
Good. Hanging out on a Friday, talking about energy efficiency. Thoughts or questions?
Yeah. Well, basically, net metering and solar panels. I mean, if we got 200,000 units, housing units here in Newfoundland, and we put a 5,000 kilowatt solar system, that's a gig of power. So by creating our own power in our homes, we reduce our energy costs and savings because we can put that back into net metering, which goes onto the main power grid, and then we get credits for that. So basically, we could be creating enough power in our homes to be totally self-sufficient in Newfoundland.
Yeah, and because this is done in other jurisdictions, right? About feeding from solar or wind and stuff back into the grid and using it for your own purposes. So I think it's a really interesting suggestion for here. Even fine cloud cover today, but it was sunny yesterday. So it's and I do know someone who has solar panels on their home, and he's got a little app that he showed me, and he was just showing me when it's sunny and what his home gets compared to he's like, and that's when the cloud cover came in. I'm like, oh, this is really interesting. But for yourself, with elections on the mind, have you been talking to any politicians? Are you talking to folks about your thoughts on this and for energy for Newfoundland and Labrador?
Well, that's part of it. I mean, I think that what we need to be doing is going after our minerals and produce the wealth that we have here and put it in the hands of the politicians so that we can become fully sustainable in many different avenues, not only power but food. So we need to be exporting more than we're importing. And Newfoundland could be huge in exporting, but we just got to manage it properly, and it just hasn't been done. And we need to get new people. I mean, I've been basically calling for independence, 40 independents and change the whole system so that we can do better. We can do it. It's not impossible. It's just that it's not being done, plain and simple.
Thank you, as always, for the call, Craig.
Thanks, Adam. Appreciate it.
Yeah, another suggestion, right? I mean, I know it's not solar. We're not talking about solar here today, but it is in the world. Other jurisdictions are really using it a lot. Just any thoughts on just that future look of where we could be going, what we could be doing?
I'll jump in on the net metering because for a long time in Newfoundland that wasn't allowed, but it has been around for, I'm going to test my memory now, probably 6 years or more. So, customers do have the option of creating their own power and setting things up so they can be on a net metering rate whereby they feed onto the power grid. And then, of course, when they need electricity, they're drawing from us. So that is a possibility for people. Yeah. Probably most Newfoundlanders might kind of think that solar is not the best fit for Newfoundland, and they may be right. Prices have come down on solar equipment in the last 10 years. Big time. So it's becoming, more accessible financially for people to look at that. But it does deserve a very good look by anybody who's, thinking about making that investment. But the option's there, so that's good.
It's a thing I'm curious about, but I would definitely need to phone someone to help because I would not even know where to start. The person who I do know who has it on his home is an engineer and really just that's the world that he is in. And so, sure. But for me, with my arts degree and barely able to turn on my microphone at CBC, it's not the world that I am in. Any other thoughts on solar or net metering or anything else?
I think there is a lot of opportunities there. I think, in small applications or in larger applications, I think we, at least in analysis that I've done, we're maybe comparable to Scotland and some parts of the UK where you do see large adoptions of solar as well. So it's not, we're not Mexico in solar generation, but we're definitely also not Iceland or the North Pole in regards to like living in darkness all the time. And a lot of the newer technologies operate pretty well in a cloudy, cool environment. They really degrade fast when it's extremely hot, in particular. So I think there is an opportunity. I think there is a few things that need to come into place to really see more uptake. And I think I think that one of the first big things is like, if you electrify a home that is not electric in the first place, then your opportunity to use the electricity in the place where you're going to get the most benefit, which is right in your home, it's limited. So I personally still see in some cases the step one is energy efficiency, and you'll get the best bang for your buck right away. And then, generation on site will probably come along the lines as we move along that process. And my understanding is basically Shift will help you consider it, depending on the assessment as moving forward.
And what is the understanding of bang for the bang for your buck on this? Because a lot of this comes down to to go even with the energy, to make the call, right, to shift, to go with the energy audit. That first step is, yes, you want to kind of know what's going on with your house and how it can be improved for comfort and cost and everything else. But what if you do go through with it? Because that's the motivating factor, right? It's like, will I be more comfortable and will I save money even if I have to spend, even with the rebates, I'm going to still have to spend some, but will it be recouped and will all of it be worth it? And can we kind of talk just briefly about that? All right, everyone's nodded, so I expect everyone to weigh in.
I'd love to jump into it because I really agree with that statement. Like, energy efficiency is the best investment you can make in your home. Especially if you start comparing it to solar or what have you. But if you just really take charge of your home, pardon the pun, and go after it and do it. And I mean, the simple example of the LED light bulb. I mean, you've got an 80-watt incandescent bulb, the old ones, probably not too many of them around now. But anyways, you get that 60-watt, and you can replace it with an 8-watt. You're getting the same service, except now you're using 8 watts instead of 60. It's so cost effective. It's like people can't afford not to do it. But, that's just the simple example. But then, getting the insulation, making sure that your basement is fully done. Yeah. No bare concrete left down there, even if it's just a little piece. No, you're wasting energy. And you need to get to it and get that done, and just topping up the attic insulation, any number of other things. And then I don't want to pick on things, but I mean, you look at windows.
Go ahead. Yeah, we haven't picked on anyone yet, so let's go for it.
Yeah, so you look at your suite windows. I mean, that's a very costly thing to have to change out. And, it's not the first thing to go after when it comes to energy efficiency. But, sometimes people want to do it. They want to get new windows, and sometimes they need new windows. Now just make sure you're buying the most efficient window. Yeah. So it's the incremental cost of sort of buying what we call a standard window or paying a little bit more to get that more efficient one. That's the opportunity there. There's a whole bunch of decisions that you can make in your home, and that energy audit that the Shift people are supporting, it's going to be great because it can set it up so that customers can see, okay, here's what this expert is recommending as my first option and the best investment for me to make, and get that plan.
That's the thing, I think, for the seniors comment from Fred, right? It's like, because yes, and again, Fred, you're bang on, man, when like the stuff you mentioned for all that work that needs to be done. But what's been interesting for me today with this conversation, it's like, well, yeah, but if you do get an energy audit done, you can figure out a route forward of, okay, what's the range, what's the suite of costs, and what can give me the best bang for my buck? What can I do? Because it comes down to you being comfortable in your home.
Yeah. It's also like for the environment, right? Yeah. You will.
And if you care about that, yes, 100%.
That has to also come into play there. You have to understand that what you're doing to your home benefits you, but it also benefits the environment. That's two of the issues we're trying to tackle.
And I'll say that you had a really good show earlier in this week about health, right? And
Thank
a
you.
cold, drafty home affects the health of the tenant, right? A highly efficient, clean, conditioned home helps you like anywhere. And I mean, in one extreme, it could be during a very hot summer, not have heat stress over time and end up with an issue. Or in the cold side, actually not have as many colds or be actually like as susceptible to certain illnesses. And that is actually, there is a lot of evidence around that, having that energy efficiency also has, maybe we don't do it specifically for the health purpose, but it does have collateral benefits to the tenant of being a healthier environment for you to live in. And a lot of people, sometimes they get frustrated. They're like, well, this new system now has a filter. I don't want to deal with a filter. Yeah, but sometimes that filter is actually filtering the air you're breathing in your home anyway. So, and in big commercial, these are concepts that are really well understood in commercial spaces. Yeah. I think sometimes we have a little bit of trouble transferring that to the place where we spend almost more time in, which is our home.
Yeah, from the draftiness and cold and that health conversation to, especially when I look at like the summer in central Newfoundland, and Labrador knows it too. And yes, even on the Avalon Peninsula, like the heat. And all of a sudden this summer, it's like, oh, yeah, like for me, it's always been like you get a nice cross breeze. You open the windows. Well, there's wildfires and there's smoke coming in now. And then you close the windows. But if you don't have an air conditioner, if you don't, like, there's things that can happen that, like, all of a sudden you're living in essentially extreme heat. And that has an impact.
Yep. And we saw it actually in some of the requests, right? Okay, turn off your HRV, close your windows, but you can turn on your mini split, and your heat pump. So there was options for homes that had a certain type of construction, which is more towards a newer home. So while everything is about the money in some ways, I just kind of urge people to think about the durability and the livability of the home as it moves over time, because that's also a very important piece. And sometimes the comfort of the place it's what we generally care about. I equate it to whenever you're buying a property, right? Like, you don't think about, like, rarely people, first thing they ask is what's the utility cost in this house. But after they own it, it's kind of the only thing that we seem to care about. So I think going back to that kind of perspective of, like, what do I want my home to be? And if it's not for yourself, maybe it's for your children, or what are you doing with the home over the next 20, 30 years? It's a good conversation to have, and and Shift will help you talk to the right people to have those conversations, whether it's a financial advisor or as part of the energy advisor, to kind of put all those blocks together so that you have information so that you can make an appropriate plan.
Yeah, and everyone should be able to. I know there's reality out there of we're in a housing crisis, and there's a lot that I've done and talked about on other shows, and we will in the future. But everyone should be able to have the right to feel comfortable in a spot that is safe and that they can call home.
Absolutely.
Anything else on from the Shift crowd on this conversation, where we're headed or looking ahead? We've got about 7 minutes left. So,
just reiterating that big or small, it's worth it. As Peter said, you can't afford not to do it environmentally or personally inside your home. I think the time is now. It's never been more crucial to consider it.
How do they get in touch with you folks?
There's a few ways. Our website is maketheshiftnl.ca. You can book an appointment there. You can also fill out the contact form. You can also email us at hello@maketheshiftnl.ca. We also have a phone number.
I have it.
Yeah.
Yeah, 709.
979
Yeah.
0362.
Good. I wasn't sure if you had it in front of you or not. So
I have it memorized, but it is also in front of me.
I don't have any numbers memorized anymore.
It's the only thing I've got left.
It's a good one then.
Also, give us a follow on Facebook and Instagram.
Hey, yeah.
In the few minutes we have left, and I ask this a lot when we do climate shows, but, like, why are you interested in the jobs you're doing in this time and space that we are in? Is it because you're all climate related? So what speaks to you personally about this, and why?
I'll say for myself, morally, I think you have to look at what is happening. Climate change, especially this past summer here in Newfoundland. It's been devastating for a lot of people. And again, you can't afford to ignore it anymore. And for morally, working together with all these different organizations, the city, it's just what makes sense to me. needed to go in this direction.
Yeah, and it's the thing I keep learning too about so many things. Any bit of progress we're making, you need so many levels of. It's not just government. It's not just the city. It's not just econext or TakeCharge and Nell. You need all these different levels from funding to people working together in order to slowly kind of move forward. Morgan, what about yourself?
Personally, I'm coming from the perspective of a younger generation who is inheriting the world that we are given now.
Sorry about that.
It's okay, guys. I'm here to make it better. Me and my friends.
Good.
I also have a lot of friends and family who have worked their whole life. They've gone through school and they're getting their first homes and they're being absolutely shocked with the price of utilities, and I want to help that. I want people to be able to, like you said, live in a space where they feel comfortable and safe, and they want to be able to pay a reasonable amount for heating their home. That's basically where I'm coming from in perspective-wise. I've always had a passion for environmental sustainability. So this it goes hand in hand. I can talk to people. I've always had a background in customer service. So I feel like it's kind of the best of both worlds for me.
All right. Edmundo.
Yeah, so I come from a background of biology and earth sciences, so it's pretty much all I know. And through whether it's my education and early career, like I kind of I enjoy difficult problems to solve, and to me this is one of the most difficult problems to figure it out because it touches everything. And I'm passionate about helping communities trying to figure it out. How do we walk through a transition? How do we adapt to climate change? And how do we do so in a way that we balance, the community we have now and the needs that we have now with where we need to be in the future? And
so then do you feel like when you look ahead of where we need to go, is that a stressful thing for you? Is it a challenge? Is it a mix? What is it?
Yeah, sometimes the next program might be a mental health group.
Yeah. Like really?
No, it's a good challenge, but I think we're making big strides. I think corporately, for example, at the city, we're on track with our corporate commitments, and we're seeing really good indicators in our community. We're seeing people walking, people using bicycles and using the share use paths and a lot of the infrastructure. We're seeing an increasing ridership that blew our mind, 35% since 2022
really?
in Metrobus. And we're working right now through actually expanding the facility to be able to house up to, I think it was 80-something buses in the future. So we're kind of putting the pieces in place to kind of realize that future, maybe not next year, but kind of as we move forward. We're also seeing electric vehicle adoption has skyrocketed. We well above our planning numbers expected by this time of the year, and we're doubling the size of our electric vehicle public network. So I feel like we're doing some of the things, maybe not all of them, but we're doing definitely a significant portion of them, and we're preparing for a lot of what is to come that we may not have direct control over.
Yeah,
whether sea level rise, fire, storms, all that stuff. I think we're embedding climate change into how we plan and how we discuss things as staff and approvals as we move forward. And I think that's what we can do.
Yeah, resiliency and adaptation. Peter, what about yourself?
Yeah, so, as I'm listening to all the great points being made here, I mean, one of the risks of climate change is the fact that we all feel powerless. We can't do anything. What difference am I going to make? But that is very much the wrong sort of way to look at it, because we all make a little difference. And certainly we can change our own worlds, the ones that we live in. For me, I wanted to be involved in energy efficiency because, as someone who works with an electric utility, of course we want to serve people with electricity. Customers expect us to give them good advice and help them on their efficiency paths. And of course, in Newfoundland, we're lucky. I guess we have the benefit of a lot of renewable electricity, about 90%, but we're still using some oil. So energy efficiency just reduces our dependency on the oil that is needed.
Thanks for this. Thanks for coming in, folks. Much appreciated.
Thank you.
And that's it for the show today. The Signal at cbc.ca if you want to email us with your thoughts and your questions. Coming up on Monday, it's a conversation around the National Day for Truth and Reconciliation. We've got a youth panel coming in, and Don't miss that show. Until then, thanks for listening. Cheers.